We are very happy to have the founder and director of our Australian colleagues with us. And for him, the overview effect has everything to do with transformation. How can our transition to space lead to such transformations? A warm applause for Richard Whitehurst.
It is a real honor to be here in front of so many esteemed individuals from variegated backgrounds. I have come into this awareness of overview starting in 1969, I believe, when in the United States the Whole Earth Catalog, which is a large catalog, floppy catalog with one edition had a black cover, and then on the black cover was that blue marble. And I remember seeing that, I was like, good grief, look at this. It just, you know, people who are beekeepers, any beekeepers in the room here? Beekeepers, bees are important. There's a thing called bee fever, and it gets people. They start coming around bees, and they start becoming aware of bees, and it's called bee fever amongst beekeepers. So I caught overview fever, right? And I think a lot of you today are catching that right now. And Frank and David and I have had some conversations. The possibility that the overview effect and the whole principle of the overview could very well go viral. I wouldn't be surprised if it, you know, in the next year or two, it's just suddenly. That's what I'm noticing. There is that idea of confirmation bias, you know, where you, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, and then suddenly you see pregnant women all over the place, or you buy a red Alfa Romeo and you see them everywhere, right? So it was a little difficult picking a topic for today because I have so many topics that I like to speak about. But I thought I would sort of keep it practical in a sense of how can we enhance our own experience of what, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but overview light, right? We're not going to be in space in the technical sense. We are, of course, in space right now, but it's not quite the same. The information density that comes through when we are watching a video is not the same as when you're in space and you're getting the full impact. So keeping that in mind, and just in terms of my own passion for the overview effect and the whole overview experience, you know, I think, well, sometimes I have a difficult time, as passionate as I can be about it, I have a difficult time just holding that idea in my mind that it's a sphere. We're on a gigantic sphere, and the atmosphere is thin. It looks like a sea of air, but actually it's very thin and fragile. How can I sustain, maintain, or even enhance my awareness of this overview? So the philosopher of mind, Thomas Nagel, he made an interesting statement. He said, when you consider the immensity and strangeness of reality, our day-to-day lives look like a thoroughly inadequate response. Right? I was on the Harvard Medical website a couple years ago, and I encourage you all to go there and look at the animations they have of cell function. 50 trillion cells. I mean, our bodies are just full-blown miracles, how it works, the intricacy. And one cell, from what I gathered, we as a species do not know how a single cell, we don't know the complete story of how a cell works. We know a lot, but when you see these animations, they are just astounding how a cell is working. And what I got from a biochemist, I wish I could quote the source, but I can't, I forgot, that every second of life, right now in this room, each one of us, every second, there are some 300 trillion things going on for your body to be just being alive in this room. Fully inconceivable. That number is beyond our conception. I believe 1 trillion is beyond our conception, to actually sustain that in our mind. So one of the things I like about the scientific enterprise is that it has expanded humanity's imagination. I certainly hope that's what it's done for me, and I think that's what it pretty much does for anyone who looks into these arenas of scientific discovery and engagement, is that the imagination expands. And the visionary and Teilhard de Chardin, some of you have heard of Teilhard de Chardin, and he said, when you become aware of some of these realities of our physical circumstance, our contextual realities, you get sick. He calls it the three maladies. Comment tu dis en français? Les trois, yeah. Yeah, three maladies, the three sicknesses, yeah. Duration, the sickness of size, and the sickness of number, right? And when you think of the reality of that's, so for me, the overview effect is, it is the first step up from what some people call the empire age into the planetary age. It's the first step up, which I believe we can get it. We can get it. I cannot get Earth to the moon. And we know about it, but to actually contain it in one's mind, what to speak of Mars, the whole solar system, what to speak of the galaxy. When you think of 1 light year, so 1 light second. 1 light second is about 9 times around the Earth, because it's a distance. What is a light year at that speed? And our galaxy, the home galaxy, Milky Way galaxy, 100,000 years for light to get one side to the other, right? So I think the overview effect, this planetary awareness, we are ready for this. As a species, we're ready to take this on board. So if we actually get into size of the universe, NASA made an announcement within the last year that, looks like there's 10 times more galaxies than we thought there were. Have you? Yeah. So that puts it at about 1 trillion, and I have a little thing I do in workshops where you see what is 1 trillion, right? What is the U.S. deficit? What is it these days? It's like 50 trillion. It's crazy. It's crazy. The immensity of things. So moving on to Albert Einstein, he said, imagination is more important than knowledge. And I especially think for those of us what Frank calls terranauts. So we're overview people, but we're on Earth and we haven't been in space yet, in this rocket ship sense of it. Imagination is more important than knowledge. And my view, because my background is psychotherapy and clinical hypnosis, so if I had $1 for every tear I've seen shed, I would be a multi-millionaire, because I have, over about 30 years of doing this work, I have just seen and heard everything. And the human species is both wonderful and terrible at the same time. It's just, it's quite a thing, human beings. And so I have 6 contemplative exercises. I was little ways that you might consider. It's what I do. I use these things to enhance my my awareness of the overview. And the first one is to understand that when here we are in Europe, on a clear day, which could be rare, you'll see many jetliners, many commercial airlines flying overhead, and it's a tiny, tiny little thing with a little contrail. That's 35,000 feet approximately. One more jump, 35,000 feet, and you're sort of at the fringe of space. You're not in space yet, because jet planes will still fly, and I've got a video, 4-minute video I'm going to show you in just a moment. But I think we can all make that jump, that conceptual jump. The next one up, and you're pretty much there. That's the end of the atmosphere for as far as what you need space helmet for that height. So when you see a plane flying in the sky, commercial, cruising 35,000 feet, one more of those, and you're out of the atmosphere. It's just we're very tiny in compared to the planet. The sun is a star in black space. I got this from one of the astronauts. So when you see, it's not it's not the sun in the sky, it's a star, and it's in black space, and it's millions of miles away. So when I see the sun, I think it's a star. It's a star. I don't call it the sun anymore, really. Sun, moon, and stars do not rise or set. They do not rise and they do not set. The whole sphere of the earth is rotating. So I live in a beautiful place in Australia called the Sunshine Coast of Queensland, Australia. Anyone been to Australia? A few of you. Sunshine Coast, north of Brisbane. It's beautiful. And I do have circumstances where I can actually see. I can get this idea, which I'll get to in a sec. So, but it's rotating. We're on a rotating sphere. It's huge compared to us. So when you see the sunrise, it's not rising. We're turning on the sphere. Find a place where you can have vistas, right? With vistas, you have greater access to this kind of awareness, generating this kind of awareness. I'm on a sphere, and it's rotating. And so find vistas. I think in the Netherlands, it's a little more challenging to find a vista, unless you go at the top of a building or something, because it's very flat. Frank's going to like this one. Sit in window seats. If I'm flying and it's going to be daytime during my flight, I say, I want the window seat. And, people climb Mount Everest, and, people go to mountain heights too. But the fact is that when you're in a plane, it's amazing, really. We take these things for granted, but pick a window seat and just get your neck good and sore, but just look out there and at the wonder of it. So pick your window seats. And watch videos. There's so much stuff on YouTube now. You can just type in a YouTube search overview. Just boom, 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 all kinds of, because there has been so much data and everything has come in. And to look at these things mindfully, because the fact is that it's astounding, the whole thing, the whole circumstance. Is it Albert Einstein? There are two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. I choose miracle. I choose to see it that way. Brushing your teeth, and just doing all these things that you have to do, going to the store and all that. So I have a little video. It's a 4-minute video clip. It is with James May of Top Gear, who that show, Top Gear, auto show. And he goes up in a U-2 spy plane at 70,000 feet. So you've got, he's made that jump, helmet, oxygen, the whole thing, and he has an overview effect experience. He has it. You can watch him have it right there, and you'll see he goes through a whole array of emotions. It's emotional. And then right after that, I got a little exercise to do with you guys for about 45 seconds, and it will be to viscerally allow yourself to viscerally experience through your imagination a bit more about the overview effect, right? Because we have been exposed. We have been exposed today to amazing. I'm just blown away by this installation here. Hans, amazing, man. It's amazing. It's just, the whole team here. It's amazing. Okay, so roll it.